Okay, so there's two things that you need to understand in your detailing business, and these are two hyper important things because too many times detailers think like, "Oh, hey, if I'm doing this one thing, then my business should grow." But this could not be further from the truth. So the two, and I'm gonna put my little iPad here. The two main things that you need to look for, or that you need to that will move your business forward, is going to be both marketing and sales. Now, the issue that people have is that they overemphasize the marketing aspect, thinking that's everything they need to do to grow their business, right? Marketing and generating leads is still just one part of the overall process, right? All of us love, or not all of us, but so many detailers love to talk about marketing and Instagram and TikTok and Meta ads and Google ads and SEO and do this and this is how I get the leads. Like everyone wants to talk about the leads. But the next most important part of that equation is the sales portion, which again, the sales portion, it's still just one part of the overall process, right? But the sales process is what converts that lead into a paying customer. And the thing that really irks me is like when I see those ads, and all of us have seen those ads on social media where it's like, we'll come into your shop and double your revenue in 90 days or you don't pay us. Or, hey, we'll increase your profit by 30% or you don't pay us, which that's like objectively just very wrong to say that because no marketing agency, no one's there to help increase your profits, right? And you might be saying, what? No marketing agency is there to increase your profits, right? Because in order to increase your profits, you need to create more margin, and you're not going to create more margin by spending more money on an agency, right? Like that's simply not how it works. Like even if you're spending 10,000 a month to make 85,000 a month in revenue, like that still doesn't justify that cost because anyways, I'll cover that a bit later. But anyways, the two things you need to be not most, but the two hyper important parts of growing your business is going to be the marketing, which is generating the lead, and then the sales, which is converting that lead into a paying customer. Now, the thing I really want to drive home is that once the lead is generated, it no longer has to do with marketing. Right? Once that person gives you a call, sends you an email, sends you a text, sends you a DM, when they submit an online form, when they give you a call, when they walk into your shop, when they walk up to you on a mobile job site, let's say, it now becomes to the sales process. Okay, so whether you're spending money on ads and you're doing it your own and you're spending $500 a month, whether you're paying an agency $1,200 a month with management fee plus your ad spend, whatever you're doing, once that lead is generated, it now moves over to the sales process. So everything about what they did in terms of the landing page, the copy, the ad platform, or the marketing strategy, once that lead is generated, it now goes all over to sales, right? So with the sales process, it's so easy to underperform when it comes to booking customers. Because for instance, like, you will have dramatically different results if you pick up the call when they call you versus if you wait an hour to call back, right? Like if you can get back to everyone in less than a minute after they submit a form or send you a DM, or when they call you, you pick up immediately, you'll have vastly different results in your business in terms of your booking rate. If you're able to respond in a minute versus if it takes you an hour or a couple of hours or the end of the day or the next day, like your chances of booking in that customer dramatically drops if you're not hyper attentive to the calls, to the communication, to whatever ways of method they're communicating with. Right? But so many of us, right? So many of us, let's say I'm drawing, a couple figureheads here. If you're not watching this on YouTube, we'll have, let's say each one of these is 10, right? Just for simplicity. Each one of that is 10. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's 50 leads that you get, right? And let's say, your sales process, like you're generating good leads, right? Let's say 50 leads, like that's fantastic. Let's say, if you're spending money to generate those leads, you generate 50 leads. Let's say it's let's say it's $25 per lead. Then you're spending $1,250 in ad spend alone to generate those leads, right? Let's say assuming you're at your cost per lead. Your cost per lead is $25 an hour, $25, right? So of those 25, right, of those 50 leads, let's say you have, let's say, and I'm going to say 10% because most detailers I talk to, they don't track their closing rate. They don't know how many leads they're getting. They don't. So let's just say you're closing at 12% booking rate, right? So of those 50 customers, you book in, and again, you're closing at 12%. Yeah, that's your booking rate, your close ratio. So of those, you book in 6 paying customers, right? And a quick note is if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about and just get more in-depth knowledge and training on starting your business or growing your detailing business, you can click the link down below and sign up for my online course called Detailers Growth Academy. It's just a monthly fee, and you get access to all the trainings that I have, whether it's marketing with SEO, whether it's building a website, whether it's learning about sales and knowing your numbers, all these things that we do in our business, it's all inside the training. And right now I'm updating a bunch of content. So there's a lot more content coming in every single week and every single month. So if you want to check that out, it'll be linked down below. So off of that, you might be saying, oh, well, these leads suck and man, it's not working. And hey, I need to spend more money on marketing. Right? From 1250, I need to go up to, technically, let's say if you wanted to get to 100 leads in 1 month, and all you would do is just, let's say, what I say? Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah. If you wanted 100 leads a month, then you would be spending, technically, you would have to spend, where did I put that? $2,500 a month, because assuming you keep your cost per lead at $25 a pop, then you have to spend $2,500 a month to generate 100 leads, which again, that's not bad in terms of like getting 100 leads. That's fantastic. Now, do you want to spend $2,500 a month in order to get those leads? No, because that eats straight into your margin, and it's a lot harder to make margin and to run at a 20-25% profit margin when you're spending $2,500 a month on ads. So with the 50 leads, you say, oh, well, I only booked in 6. So man, like these leads aren't good. Maybe we should go and spend, like, let's say you're spending money. Let's say you're spending that $1,250 on Google Ads, and you're saying, oh, well, maybe I should go and run Meta ads actually, and let me increase my Google Ads by $400. And you start to kind of diversify. You start spending more money, more marketing. You end up generating more leads. But even if you get 75 leads now, let's say because you change your marketing, you're spending a bit more, you're on a different platform, but your booking rate is 12%, then of those 75 customers, 75 leads, you're still only booking 9 customers into the schedule. So again, on the marketing part, fantastic if you're generating 50 or 75 or 100, like that's good, right? Obviously, you don't want to have to pay for every one of those leads because it just gets more and more expensive. But just looking strictly at the leads, like 50, 75, 100, that's fantastic, right? So the marketing side, it's working, but because you're saying, oh well, hey, they're not booking in as soon as they call me. Hey man, like they're not answering the phone, or hey man, they're just price shopping, or hey man, they're all these different things. You blame it on the marketing part. Right. And again, maybe there could be something wrong with the marketing. Maybe, you're targeting a too vast area of a market. And they're saying, hey, you're too far, or you're too booked out, or, maybe you're charging the more, kind of fixed income kind of population. Yeah, there could be something wrong with the marketing, right? Maybe it's a landing page, the copy. Maybe there's something that might be, just not as targeted as it should be, right? So there's always that portion. But don't get me wrong, even when you have the best ads with the best targeting and the best budget and the best optimization, you're still going to get people who aren't qualified, right? It's just the way it goes, right? So if you look at these numbers, you say, oh, well, something's wrong with the marketing because we're only getting 9 customers, right? Again, we so easily blame the marketing side. We so easily say, oh, well, it's the agency, or it's the Facebook ads if you're doing it yourself. Right? It's the Meta ad, it's SEO. That's what the problem here. Right? So someone else has the solution, right? Hey, yeah, that agency is generating these 75 leads a month, but none of them are booking. I need to go with another agency, right? And again, to some degree, maybe the ad platform isn't working, or maybe their ads or they're targeting. So that could 100% be factual as well. But here's why it's so important to understand these two different functions, because they serve different purposes. You are generating the leads, right? You are getting, in this example, 50, 75, or 100 leads. So in this portion, once the lead is generated, you have to go into full sales process, right? Because now if you can increase that close ratio, right, your booking rate to 30%, that means on those original 50 leads that you got, at a 30% close ratio, you would be booking in 15 paying customers now. So literally from taking with the same amount of leads that we just worked with, right? But we increased our close ratio basically by we basically doubled our close ratio from 12% to 30%, right? We doubled our business with the same amount of leads, right? Because at 12%, we were booking 6. At 30%, we're now booking 15. So without getting any more customer, without generating any more leads, and more importantly, without spending more money on generating leads via paid ads, we were able to double our business, right? So again, I'm just making up numbers here, but what is it? 6 and 9. So at 12%, it was 6 customers, and at 30%, it was 15 customers, right? So now let's say let's keep both things equal. Let's say your average ticket price now for each one. Again, just made up example, just trying to give you a picture. Your average ticket price is, let's say, $350, right? So that means in this example, you made $2,100, and in the example where you're running at a 30% close ratio, you made 5,250. Now here's where why that's so important. One, you're making more money and you're getting more bang for your buck, right? Like you're actually converting more leads into opportunities. But look at this. If you're spending $1,250 to generate 50 leads, so only book 6, you're only making $2,100 off of the $1,250 that you spent. So what is that? It's so hard to do math while you talk. 1,250. So the margin, the spread between those two things, which is the wrong way to look at it, but the difference between those is $850. So you are barely covering your cost and booking in 6 customers while spending $1,250 a month on ads, with your average ticket price being $350. But with the second example, with our close ratio being at 30%, and we're now booking 15 customers, well, now there's a bit more margin there, right? Because if we're spending let me do the 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 0. So if we're looking at it in terms of the ad spend and making 5,200, well, now we're 4xing our return. Again, this is a made up example. There's no hard number to any of this. But this is how it actually works, though, right? This is why every time I talk to a detailer and they tell me how they're spending money on ads and what they're doing, it's like, man, it very quickly you realize the current strategy you're running, you can't make money off of it because your ad spend is too high. And when I say ad spend, I mean like you're paying money to a management, to an agency, plus the ad spend. Your average ticket price is too low. You're driving too far between jobs if you're mobile, and you can't make like. No matter what you do, you literally cannot sustain this formula because you're technically losing money on every job that you're doing, right? So this is why it's so important to understand whatever marketing you're doing. If you're paying an agency, if you're paying, if you're running ads yourself, when you're paying money, this is the way you have to look at it. Because if you strictly just look at it saying, "Oh man, the marketing is not good," my website and the Facebook ads and the Google ads and the Instagram and the yard signs and the door knock, all these things just suck. They're not working. It's too easy and say, "Oh, it's the marketing. The leads suck." That's what it is. The leads are poor quality. It's too easy, and I would like to say it's too lazy to say, "Oh, it's the leads. Oh, it's the marketing. Oh, it's my agency. It's my ads." Right? And don't get me wrong. That 100% that can also be a part of it. But if you're generating those leads, a big portion of that is on the sales process as well, right? Because you can't just you can't run ads indefinitely to grow your business, right? Like you can't use that as a crunch to be like, "Oh, well, I'll just spend more, and I'll just spend more, and I'll just spend more," because like at face value, it's like, "Oh yeah, I'll spend 5,000 to make 10,000," which is terrible. I'll spend 5,000 to make 10,000. The issue is if you don't, which I won't get into this part, but I'll give you a quick example. Like then if all the numbers don't make sense on the back end of delivering the service, the ad still won't work. Right? Like for instance, like, let's say, and let's just go something crazy. Let's say you're making 100,000 a month, right? Which I don't think most of us are, right? We're not. Let's say you're making 100,000 a month, and you might say, "Oh, that's fantastic! Like, everything's going great, right? You have a big business, right? 100,000 a month, which is a lot, right? It's a lot." Now, again, let's say assume you're tracking everything, you know your numbers, you know your productivity rate, all your team members are W2, you know all your numbers, you know the expenses, you know your monthly overhead, you know all these numbers, your employees clock in and out, and your productivity rate is high, and you're bidding all the jobs correctly, and you're hitting your hourly, like you're hitting everything on the head, right? And let's say you're running at a 20% margin, right? So let's say off of $100,000 at a 20% profit margin, in profit for the month, right? Not for the year, but for the month, you'll be at $20,000 a month in profit, right? Now this goes completely out the wazoo if then you say, yeah, but we're spending $15,000 a month on ads, right? So now what that means is, yeah, you might be making 100,000. If you're running at a 20% profit margin, you'll make 20,000. But if you're running $15,000 a month on ads to generate that work and those leads to make 100,000 for the month now in profit, you're going to be left over with $5,000 a month in profit. So you're spending $15,000 a month to make 100,000 a month to keep $5,000 in profit, right? Now, here's the thing, though. Like, here's something else you have to realize. Again, I won't go too far into this because I'll make more videos on this later. Of that 100,000, right? A month, right? A month. Let's say some of that is. Let's say you're doing PPF and tint and correction ceramic coatings. I'm just gonna make up a number, but let's say of that $100,000 in material cost alone. Again, just made up example. 10,000 can literally be off of like 3 vehicles. Let's say 10,000 of this is going to be material, right? Which means we don't make money off of this. Like we don't like there's no profit in this because we're literally just receiving that 10,000 from the customers and we're spending it to purchase $10,000 worth of material, right? So now let's say you're on labor revenue. This is what you're actually working with, right? So now on 90,000, if you're at a 20% profit margin, you're now collecting $18,000 in profit. But again, let's say if you're spending 15,000 a month on ads, let's say, which would be crazy. Now in profit per month, it's $3,000 per month in profit, right? Now, again, you can play with these numbers however you want, but off of $100,000, a lot of people would be like, "Oh yeah, of course you would. If I could spend 15,000 to make 100,000, of course I would spend that." Very easily, you would run on very tight margins with those numbers, right? This is why if you solely rely on ads being your main source of lead generation, things only get more and more expensive because you're paying for every click, every lead, and every customer. Now, of course, if they come back to you, then that dilutes the customer acquisition cost because they're coming to you a second time. On that second return, you're not paying for that second customer, right? Because you already received them. You already got them as a customer. Regardless of the fact, though, if you're consistently spending $15,000 a month every month, regardless if those customers are coming back to you or not, you're still spending $15,000 a month. And if you hit these numbers right here as they are, well, it's still not going to work out, right? That's why you have to really look at these two things separately and have a system for each one, right? Like marketing is hyper important, right? You can't have a business without lead generation. Like you need people knowing who you are. You need to know what you do. They need to know what you do. You need to get people calling you, coming to your shop, walking up to you on the mobile job side, sending you DMs, giving you you need people contacting you, right? That is lead generation. And that's why I'm not saying whether it's Meta or Google or SEO, just lead generation is hyper important, right? Forever and always, right? That's still just one part of the overall process. If you generate, let's say you're crazy, right? And you're just a master of lead generation, and you generate 300 leads in 1 month, right? And let's say your average ticket price is, again, let's keep the same of 300, right? Of 350, and this is leads, right? That means if you generate 300 leads, that's fantastic. Like I would imagine you're like top 1% of detailers generating leads, right? That's amazing. So if your close ratio is 10%, that means you booked in 30 customers out of 300, right? And if your average ticket price is 350, then you made 10,000. I think it's 10,500, right? And you might say, "Oh, well, that's over 10,000." Yeah, but you don't understand how much the big gap you have in potential here, right? And again, let's just assume 300. Like if you're paying for 300 leads through ads, that would like okay. Let's say like your average cost per lead is $20, right? So if you multiply 20 times 300, you have to be spending $600 a month, $6,000 a month to generate 10,500. Obviously, with that, you're not going to make any money. Like again, like you can't scale that because there's never any margin. There's no profit. Like you literally can't make money on that formula, right? Now again, let's say you can close again. Like let's say like 40. Let's say your close ratio now is 40%. So on those 300 leads, right? You're now gonna book in. You're now gonna book in 120 customers. Which again, if your close ratio, if your average ticket price is 350, you are now making $42,500, right? And we kept everything the same. The only difference that we changed here is the close ratio in terms of your sales process, right? Now again, if we look at that 300 and what did I say, or 20, let's say 20, and you're spending $6,000 a month to generate those leads, the margin looks a lot better spending $6,000 a month making $42,000 versus spending $6,000 a month to make $10,500. That's why it's so crucial. Like you have to merge all three things together. You have to understand the marketing, you have to understand the sales, and you have to understand the numbers for this to make sense. Too many times we lean too heavy into the marketing side thinking, oh, hey, if I just generate the leads, if I just get the form submissions, if I just get the phone calls, everything else will work itself out. I'll book these cars in and we're going to make money. Right? But when you dig deeper and you look at how everything's actually functioning in the business, a lot of times the formula we're running, and look, I've spoken with a variety of agencies as well over the years. They don't know numbers, okay? They know lead generation, which like I'm not blaming the agency, right? Because like they don't specialize in growing a home service business or a detail shop or what have you, right? They don't specialize in understanding, what is your employee per revenue and your productivity rate and your budgeted hours. And that's not their job. Their job is to generate you leads, point blank. They don't know, oh, your pricing should actually be this, because they don't know that. Without them knowing every little bit of the ins and outs of your business in terms of your overhead, in terms of your employees, in terms of the hours, in terms of your budget hours, in terms of your hourly rate to go, in terms of all these things, they can't set your prices, right? They can't, that's not their goal. That's not their function. Their function is to only generate you the leads. After that, it's 100% on you to know what to do with that, to maximize that lead opportunity. Right? Because one customer, you like, for instance, like we booked someone in for a few months back. It was like for like a premium wash, like $80 or something, right? For 9 months later, I think 9 months later, they come back for a $3,000 job, right? What I'm getting at though is that's how you maximize all opportunities. I'm not saying like don't what I just said is it's not saying, hey, I'm booking these small jobs. We're at a shop, so like the how we can book small jobs is a lot different than if you're mobile, right? Like you can't book small jobs in if you're mobile, because if your route density is super spread out and you're driving 30 minutes this way and 15 minutes that way and 45 minutes that way, it's so hard to make money because you spend too much of your time driving. So here at the shop, we're actually able to we can capitalize a lot better on smaller jobs, and those smaller jobs convert, and it's happened multiple times. Those small jobs convert to $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 jobs, but they started off as a small job. And again, like I can tell you this because like that's integrated into our sales process, into how we do it, and how we capitalize on those opportunities. But that's what I'm getting at though. Like that's like you have to know and understand this like as well in depth as you can, because this is what grows your business. Simply just saying, hey, yeah, we're spending $2,000 a month and I'm generating 85 leads a month means nothing. Means nothing in the business in terms of what does it actually play out to be, right? Like I don't care if you're generating 100, 50, 300. If you don't plug in all these numbers and don't understand the entire formula to make it work, you can still go out of business. You can still run out of money. You can still be unprofitable. So that's why it's so important to understand the marketing and the sales. And then towards the last bit of here, I spoke about the number side. So anyways, yeah, if you want more in-depth training on this, inside of Detailers Growth Academy, I go more in-depth into all of this. And I go into, it's basically your one-stop platform to know everything about running your business. And like whether it's marketing for SEO, whether it's creating content, whether it's understanding the sales process, all that is inside the Detailer Growth Academy. So if you want to check that out, just click the link down below, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.